Good morning and welcome to this circle. Welcome to SSUC, Spiritual Seekers United in Community, to Southminster Steinhauer United Church. We're so glad whenever we can gather together to be community with one another and to be part of something together, part of living meaningful lives with one another, part of making a difference wherever we can in our lives and in our living, and part of the fun and wonderful things that we do together as a church community here in this place at this time. So welcome to each of us on this morning. This is a place where we try to build safer space for us to explore our spirituality, to ask our questions, and to be free to be who we are, wherever that is on the journey. We're welcome all ages, all stages, all sizes, all colors, all ethnicities, all gender expressions, all sexualities. Just whoever we are, we're welcome here just as we are. As we gather in this place, we recognize, as we do each and every time we gather, that we do so on Treaty 6 land, that it's land we share, it's land that we are grateful for all that have inhabited this place through the generations and generations of this land's history, for the Cree and the Métis Nation, and for all those tribes and nations that have called this home. We're grateful, and we seek that partnership and reconciliation as we live in this land, on this land, and together. Today, there might be something you want to share with the community in terms of news or something coming up, something you wish that we all knew. Come to this place, and we focus now on being here fully and being present to each other and to the time that is before us. Let's sing. As we light the candle this morning, we hear a story to gather us. Michelangelo, perhaps history's greatest sculptor, is known to have said, "Every block of stone has a statue inside of it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it." For Michelangelo, the idea was already there, inside the hunk of stone, his eyes and hands merely the vessels by which that idea, that art, was brought into physical form. Sculpture was a passion and his favorite discipline, because it is about, as he says, chiseling away at the unnecessary, at the external in pursuit of the truth and beauty within. We live in an age inundated with ways to connect and things to watch and stuff to buy. A mantra has become bigger and faster and more of it. Of course, none of this brings us closer to our fellow human or nearer to the truth. More often than not, it does the opposite. It alienates. You can message only so many strangers and buy only so much garbage with a single click before you grow numb to the emptiness that mindless capitalism or anti-social media offers. More and more, we realize that we're desperate for a way to cut through the clutter. Simple, more meaningful lives filled with people and experiences that we actually care about. As an introduction into our time together this morning, we take the wisdom of Michelangelo when he talks about his highest and most noble art, a sculpted form of life, relief, that which is fashioned by the effort of cutting away. So today we ponder the action we take in life, how it is adding, how it is diligently being cut away as we cut that heavy, burdensome excess. How is it a reflection of our natural state of who we are? And how, as a result, the beauty within the marble might start to emerge.
Good morning. My name is Deb Mooney, and Katie and Claire and I would like to sing an old favorite from the Muppets, The Rainbow Connection. And on the third verse, I'd like to invite you to join in. It will be up on the screen. Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered? And who wished on that morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell. We know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da 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 da, la da, 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 ooh.
It's our time for all ages. So if anyone here would like to come to the carpet, please be welcome. Come closer, come sit. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi. I want to show you something. I brought this from home. This sits on my piano, and it's just a little gizmo called a metronome. Metronomes can look different. They can be an app in your phone, or they can be a little thing like this, or they can be a thing that goes tick-tock, back and forth. What a metronome does is it keeps a steady beat. I'll show you. Now, it could be really slow. It also has a light that blinks. That's helpful when you're playing really loud and can't hear this. Or it could be really fast. So, if you're a person learning music, you really need one of these. Your teacher always says you need to use the metronome, but then you also feel really mad at this thing because it's always faster than you can play. I want to show you this because there's something else very interesting. You all have hearts in your body, I think. Do you? Do you have a heart? Oh, you do? Okay, good. We all have hearts, and our hearts pump the blood in our bodies, all over our bodies, into our heads, down our legs, into our arms, to all the places that need blood. Our hearts are very important for pumping that blood. Now, do you have to think about your heart pumping and beating all the time? Do you think about it? If you stop thinking about your heart, will it stop? I hope not. I hope not. If we're healthy, our heart will beat even if we don't think about it. Yeah. And even better than that, we know that that's something that's going on really naturally. It's just natural for our heart to beat. And the really neat thing is that the things that are happening within us, like our heartbeat, things that we don't even have to think about, can help us. They can help us. I'll tell you, as someone who plays music, sometimes I don't have this with me. And I want to know how fast it is. Well, I know that my heart beats at about, when I'm sitting and resting, at about 80-something beats a minute. So I know that I don't need this to tell me what 88 beats a minute is. If I'm really stuck and need to know how fast to play something on the piano, I can just listen to my heart. It's a little faster right now, perhaps. But I can kind of guess what the speed of the music should be. So that's helpful, because something natural in us gives us some helpful things. I want to show you something else, too. Are all of you breathing right now? Are you breathing? Good. I'm really glad. Our breathing is something also that we don't have to think about. Our body knows how to do it without us making our body do it. So we breathe even if we're playing games or eating or doing other things. Our body knows to breathe all the time. And that's really wonderful that our body can do that. But also, something else that's helpful about that natural thing is that if we focus our mind and our attention on our breathing, sometimes that can help us. So something natural, if we think about it, can help us. So I am going to invite us all into this little cool little thing. Everyone watch the screen. Because there's going to be a flower on that screen that grows and shrinks. And here's what we're all going to do together. When that flower gets big, I want you to all take a breath in. When the flower gets small, breathe out. You're going to get it. So we're just going to focus. It lasts for just like a minute and 30 seconds. But that minute and 30 seconds is going to be great. Okay, everyone ready? Here it is. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Did you breathe with the flower? Did you feel different after than you did before? How does breathing like that make you feel? Calm? It might make you feel relaxed, like you're not thinking about all the other things that you might think about. You're just thinking about your breathing. Something our body does all by itself can be a real wonderful gift to us because we can use it. We can maybe, if we're feeling anxious or worried, we could do something like that and feel calm. And it's all because we've got this wonderful natural breath in us. Or we can listen to our heart because we've got this natural heartbeat in us. And it will help us to feel a certain way or to do certain things. So, that was lovely. The whole room is feeling calm now. If you'd like, you can find that on YouTube and do 8 minutes of that. And some of you will, I just know it. We're going to sing a song, and I invite... Here is a reading from the Gospel of Thomas, from chapter 22, verses 4 to 7. Jesus saw some little ones nursing, and he said to his disciples, "These little ones who are nursing are like those who enter." They said to him, "So shall we enter by being little ones?" And Jesus said to them, "When you make the two one, and make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, when you make above like below, that you might make the male and the female be one and the same, so that the male might not be male, nor the female be female, then you will enter the realm of the Spirit." This is a saying from the Gospel of Thomas. May we find wisdom for our living.
This is from the Tao Te Ching, verse 2. The master can act without doing anything and teach without saying a word. Things come her way and she does not stop them. Things leave and she lets them go. She has without possessing and acts without any expectations. When her work is done, she takes no credit. That is why it will last forever. For those who practice effortless action, everything will fall into place. These are words of the Taoist tradition from the 4th century BCE.
May we find wisdom for our living. It's in I think one of the worst questions on the planet might be, what do you want to do when you grow up? When kids are busy being in the moment, playing with possibilities, what do we adults do? We throw that awful question at them. What are you going to do? Do. Sometimes we trick the kids, and we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? But we don't mean that. We still are asking, what career are you going to pursue? I remember being asked the question as a young child, and the distinction was obviously not as clear to me about doing and being, because my mother tells me that for some reason I answered that I wanted to be a bus. The family still has great fun with knowing that that was my answer. They still ask if I've become a bus yet. Oh, but you know, as a kid, there was something so fun about the way the door used to open, and the driver would turn the thing and it would go psh. I loved that. I wanted to do that all the time. Now, the adults all smile and say, oh, how cute. But you could tell that my cute answer, even as a child, I knew that my cute answer wasn't serious and I should keep thinking. The "what are you going to do when you grow up" question seems harmless enough, but it gets asked so often that we end up teaching our children, perhaps without realizing it, that they should fixate on their marketability, on what they will do to earn that precious dollar rather than finding essential worth in who they are. The crazy thing is that most of us become disillusioned at some point with the grind of striving for more, and yet we still program our children to seek the very lifestyle and mindset that has never completely fulfilled us as adults: the striving, the working. So we set in motion another generation of kids who inevitably buy into a worldview, happily perpetuated by media and retail, and reinforced by an education system with their testing that the message is clear: worthiness is marked by productivity, with your scores, with how good a career you might achieve. More is better. Your effort is never quite enough. It's a bit of insanity. I wonder what the alternative is. I mean, we ask those questions of our children innocently. How do we get off the carousel of our constant striving? Last week we talked about action in our lives, taking action in our lives so that we could avoid the danger of endlessly talking the talk. This is, as I mentioned last week, the danger of organized religion. The danger of spirituality is getting lost in the cycle and in the bubble of talking about what we want to do in the world and not making kind of strides to take action, to make a difference of any kind in that regard. And after having spoken about that last week, I began to think about the other side of that. And so maybe this week is the caution, the corollary, the yin to that yang that is needed in all our conversations, that it's not all one way or the other. The famous Chinese sage Lao Tzu said, "Practice not doing, and everything will fall into place." Now, that's really hard for us Canadian 21st century people to hear because that's laziness. Not doing sounds indifferent, lazy. It's more about, it's really, I think, and I'm no expert, but I think that this quote is talking more about flowing with the nature of things, being in tune with what is the right time. And this is a concept that goes beyond any one particular religious tradition. We all have that in common, that we talk about stories and traditions that talk about the right time. To use the biblical Greek words, not time as chronos, as in a ticking clock or a metronome, but time as in kairos, the fullness of time, the appropriate time, the time that is right, the unfolding of what is natural, that kind of time. Not doing comes from the Chinese phrase wei wu wei, which is translated as not doing. But perhaps a more helpful way to think of it is with the phrase natural action, which was part of what Kim read for us this morning. Effortless or natural action. I just want to speak those words again from the verse in the Tao Te Ching. The master can act without doing, teach without saying a word. She has without possessing and acts without expectation. For those who practice natural action, everything will fall into place. This natural action, it seems, this Wei Wu Wei, is a bird in flight, a bird that doesn't need to think about flapping those wings. It's a dog fetching a ball who just wants more than anything to run after that ball and bring it back. It's a kid just being a kid. In that sense, it's not inaction at all. It's effective action. It's action that makes an impact because it comes from some kind of natural instinct or self-awareness. It's conscious action. Imagine the state of our world if all the frantic, competitive, striving, even nervous energy was channeled into that kind of playful, effective action. That can't happen, but that kind of natural action is what we're talking about. It's often associated with water. In many spiritual traditions, that kind of action is connected with the yielding nature of water. Although water is soft and weak, it is also powerfully strong. It has the capacity to erode even solid stone and move mountains. Water is without the will to be more than it is, or to be anything other than to be where it is, occupying whatever space it's in. It can assume any shape, and in all its forms can potentially go anywhere, as part of us, as part of the atmosphere, when condensing on a blade of grass, when falling as rain, gathering in watersheds, forming rivers of water, joining the sea. This is the nature of water, going with the flow, so to speak, but capable of great power. This natural action is perhaps also seen in words from those like Michelangelo, who see the marble slab and see something inside of it, and so must take the excess away, to see the stone as it really is, rather than imposing their vision on it, see some kind of potential in the stone. This picture is of Nag Hammadi, which is a place where in 1945 many scrolls were found that enlighten us to things like the Gospel of Thomas, which before that date was unknown. In Thomas's Gospel, there are sayings of Jesus. It's called a sayings gospel. It's not a narrative of a life. It doesn't have birth. It doesn't have death. It's a book. It's a scroll of sayings, and it represents an early community that knew of Jesus and his teachings, and had written down these sayings. And it appears, although no one knows for sure, that this community was quite distinct from the ones that gathered together the words that became the Gospel of Matthew or Mark or Luke or John. Half of what we find in the Gospel of Thomas mirrors what we find in the Gospels that we're more familiar with, and the other half seems to have come from communities that understood Christianity or understood the Jesus way in quite different ways than what we're used to hearing. And that's why I think when we read from the Gospel of Thomas that our faces look somewhat like yours did when I read from the Gospel of Thomas. Like, what is this exactly? Jesus saw some little ones nursing. And he said to his disciples, "These little ones who are nursing are like those who will enter the spiritual realm." A child nursing is an interesting image. That's instinct. That baby is putting no intellectual thought into nursing from his or her mother. The baby is not thinking about whether it's correct, whether it's doing it right or not. The mother might be worrying about that, but not the child. The child is not concerned about whether it's been 4 minutes and should switch sides or not. No effort whatsoever. I shouldn't say no effort, but extremely natural effort. Effortless action. And Jesus compares this effortless, natural action to what it is to be a spiritual person, for what it is to be worthy, to be recognized as one who knows, one who is wise. And then the passage, like much of the writings in Thomas, which is where it started to get a bit weird for us, suggests that we look to the unity of who we are, that which connects us. And he goes into this thing about gender and how male won't be male, it'll be female too. And, you know, for as much as they knew about gender as being very binary, it is quite amazing to think that this is writings from 2,000 years ago talking about very kind of non-binary type things, which is to say that who we are and how we're connected goes beyond gender, goes beyond externals, beyond even internals, to what is at our core, a common birth, a common yearning. And it's here in this commonness that we'll find what we seek. Natural effort is an awesome alternative to constant striving and worrying about what action we might take next. How do we get to natural effort as a way of living? Well, this is the tricky part in my estimation, at least I think so, because we could say, well, we have to stop trying so hard. But that's not really possible, is it? I don't know. I'm struggling with that. As someone who's a big baseball fan, the worst thing that a batter in a slump can do is try harder. They'll dig themselves an even bigger hole if they try harder at the plate. Because then what they're doing is they're overthinking everything. Do you know what happens when you try not to think about something? If I say try not to think about a kitty cat, you're all thinking about a cat. Now, it's really impossible. You can't not think about things. You can't try not to think about something, which maybe is why natural effort isn't anything that can be forced. A batter, back to baseball, a batter has to go to the plate and simply do what they've done thousands of times, what they've practiced doing, without thinking too hard, without forcing it, but in confidence that their work, their patience, their effort will pay off, and that their body will simply know what to do, because it's done it many, many times. There might be wisdom there. I think we can tell if we're acting with too much effort, because I think we often see that in the mirror. We feel it in our bodies. I look and feel miserable if I'm trying too hard to do something. Natural action is pure joy to perform. I also know when that's happening, because I know I'm feeling something joyous, and I didn't realize I was doing any work at all. Have you ever had this experience where someone comes to you and says something like, you really said something great. You really gave me a gift when you said what you did. When you said what you said or did what you did. They said, I really loved that you said that or did that. And you rack your brain and you think, I don't remember what I said or what I did. I have no idea what you're talking about. And sometimes, we chalk that up to bad memory, but I think that it might be more the fact that whatever we did or whatever we said for that person was so much a natural part of us that we didn't realize that we were saying something important or doing something particularly impactful. Something we don't think about or something we don't strive to be or try too hard to accomplish, it comes from our experiencing and participating in what is natural for us. That's natural effort. When someone says, I just really like the way you live, well, that's easier to understand, and we'd be like, well, what? What does that mean? But it obviously, something naturally flowing from us is what we're talking about here. And it's often noticed by others and not by ourselves. I'm showing you a picture now. This is 3 years ago. You might recognize a few people in this picture. I'm the guy with his arm up on the right side there. There's Darian beside me. Sorry, Darian. There's the rest of my family. I've been rafting a few times in my life, and I'll never forget the instructions given by one guide. He said, if you fall out of the raft, the instinct is to try to stand up. Because the water really isn't that deep. You can see the bottom, you can see the rocks. It's not that deep, and we want to try to stop ourselves from going down the river where who knows what happens. If you do that, he said, your foot can get caught between rocks, and the river doesn't know how to press pause. So, your foot's caught, the river pushes you over, and you drown. So he said, don't do that. Instead, lift your feet up and let the river take you, and you'll be fine. We can accommodate ourselves to the water rather than making the water accommodate to us. That river story is about natural action, to be shaped by what is effortless for us. Lift your feet, lay back, you'll end up at the shore. When we act from that place, that natural core place of who we are and what is entirely crucial to who we are, it's often then our best and most creative power is unlocked. And maybe that's the wisdom that helps us to merge our actions, what we want to do in this world, how we want to take action, with the flow of life, to live with the intentions of our highest values, with our most open minds. It's not doing nothing. It's having an intention to do something, but not forcing ourselves to act just because we feel like we need to, but doing what we've worked long to make a natural part of us. So it's not saying, tomorrow I'm going to turn my life 180 degrees and start doing X, Y, and Z. Well, no, because that doesn't come from who I am. Tomorrow I'm going to think about what it is that is most natural for me to do. What have I done so many times that I can stand at the plate and whack that ball out of the park? What have I done that makes my life and my living a natural part of who I am? And how can I work from that place to do the actions and to be involved in the things I want to be involved in that way? It's then that our best and most creative power is unlocked, I believe it. The game plays the player at that point. The music composes the composer. The poem writes the poet, and the work finds the worker. You can't tell the dance from the dancer at that point, and the dream and the dreamer become one. In this place where we use who we really are, boundaryless, who we are, what we've worked to become, to take the actions that we need to take. And all of life gains somewhat of a natural flow. And we stop striving for something better, squeezing one more thing in, looking for the time when things will be better, Or saying, if only I could just do that like that other person does. No. If only we could do what only we can do in the way that we can do it. In that way, I think our action becomes easier and living our intentions becomes more natural, more joyful. And by the way, what we've just spent 10 or 15 minutes talking about, kids know this without 10 or 15 minutes of listening to boring old me. If we learn from children, we can learn from them. Let's watch them play. Let's watch them act. They know about natural action. So for now, we have better questions than the ones that I think we typically ask. We can ask questions like, where is life effortless for us and most joyous? How can we make a difference there? What does this teach us about where we might focus our time and our action? In those questions, and in our quest for meaningful lives and positive action and a bit of peace along the way, may we work to make it so, naturally, easily, in the flow of life. We meet at the center table where we all find our place, and in this moment, may we be open to the gifts of a simple meal. A simple meal that's been celebrated for generations, and in our Christian tradition has meant many things over many years. Today, and for us in our community, we celebrate a table where a loaf of bread harvested and baked yesterday is enjoyed and celebrated today, giving strength and hope for tomorrow. We celebrate where a cup of juice might tingle across our taste buds and remind us of the crushed and bitter. With patience and diligence, might be transformed into sweetness, better shared with each other. As households have done, as spiritual communities have done, as wisdom teachers like Jesus of Nazareth have done, as communities of friends and neighbors will always do, we break bread and share this cup as a celebration of a moment, a timeless one, stretching back and forward, pausing to savor the journey. It's a ritual that connects us as ones who wish to commit to living a life of authenticity, a life of action. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, no matter if you're a member of this church or any church, no matter if you've been at this table countless times or if you're wondering what this is all about, you're welcome here. This is a place to pause in our gratitude amid life's questions and to say, I don't know what the next step is, but I know that I take it with honesty and I take it with people that want to take it with me. So you're invited into this time and to this table. Not a table of belief, but a table of belonging, where there's a place for you in this moment now. You are welcome. You're welcome to share this bread for your journey and this cup of community. We'll have 3 stations this morning, and I invite you to make your way to any of those 3. If you require a gluten-free station, there will be one person standing right front and center. Please approach that person for a gluten-free wafer and cup. We're welcome. Come. No one knows who you are more than you. May we go, taking that into our lives and into our world. the you that knows what is joyous, what is effortless, what is exactly who and what you need to be. May we take that into our day to live and to take the light with us. River running in you and me, spirit of life, deep mystery, dancing down to the rolling sea. River run deep, river run free. River laughed on my birthing day, wind and water joined in play, soaked my soul in a shining spray. River run deep, river run free. River, cry my name to me, lend me hope and memory, sing me the story of the timeless sea. River run deep, river run free. River singing in you and me, spirit of life, deep mystery, touches up in your melody. River run deep, river run free.